The Wild Pony, which was filmed in 1982, was one of the first original Canadian feature films made exclusively for First Choice Television when it launched in February of 1983. The screenplay was based on a novel by American author Walt Morey, a carefully researched and vivid struggle of a homesteading family in the Oregon High Desert, which I decided to film against the spectacular wilds of Alberta. It's the story of a boy who has a rocky relationship with his ne'er-do-well father and a woman in a bad marriage who wants to protect her young family.
Getting or busting or losing? Tom! The little lady got him on such a tight string he can't buy us a whiskey. Oh, she'll kill the old red rooster when she goes. Get these donkeys out of my way.
Well, I'd do just that. You give me a hand, fellas.
Frank, I'll give you a hand.
When the father is accidentally killed by a neighboring landowner, his widow tries to survive the family disaster by marrying the man who has been responsible for her husband's accidental death.
Mrs. Fellows.
Marilyn Lightstone read the script and fell in love with the character of a woman with such strong survival instinct and unwillingness to give up that she nobly makes the only choice she can see in front of her.
I'm not looking for a husband any more than you are looking for a wife. What I am proposing is a marriage in name only. If you accept my offer, you'll eat a lot better and I'd still save you money.
With 2 kids.
2 children, a good horse and buggy, 24 laying hens, and 10 head of cattle, including the milk cow. Add a lean-to against that far wall, and you can have your bedroom at one end of the cabin, and the children and I can be at the other.
Marilyn became a wonderful collaborator in helping me film the story. I found her to be a performer who instinctively embodies a character, but enthusiastically shares in the development of that character with the director.
You know, I don't think we should include the kids in this formal setup you've devised.
Well, I should think that you would understand the need for it, Mr. Chase.
Well, I don't. Spell it out to me, Sarah.
And there's no need for you to call me Sarah at home.
Well, I think that's where it's most necessary. Of course, I'm not a very good hypocrite.
Meaning I am.
Not at all. See, we were talking about me.
Fortunately, both our instincts about her character would evolve were in sync, making our cooperation with each other a very happy experience, especially when the environment we were shooting in was both remote and physically challenging. We filmed in a very isolated section of a ranch in Pincher Creek, Alberta, just north of Waterton Lakes National Park on the border between Alberta and Montana. Marilyn's enthusiasm for her work and her naturally indefatigable personality were a tonic in keeping the production flowing, even in helping overcome daily obstacles. Marilyn was first in line to tackle anything, even if it was in a chain of crew with pails of water the day we had to extinguish a fire that burst out in a barn when lights ignited a bale of hay. She never let anything untoward stand in the way of helping foster the most creative environment out of daily challenges, whether it came to rescuing an animal or just creating an atmosphere of fun as an antidote to the foreverness of the struggle to complete our days.
Remember my saying the Hamiltons had to give up their ranch? Well, they were going to have a sale next week. So this afternoon, I bought all their cattle for $20 a head. Seeing as how I sold my ranch to Sam Fletcher for $975.
Hold it. To Fletcher?
She had enormous patience with the children, neither of whom had ever acted before and were inspired by her. She really became their mother during this period, and of course they'd do anything for her.
You're still Christopher and Jenny Fellows.
You mean you're not our mother anymore?
Oh, of course I am, sweetheart. It just means that Mr. Chase is your stepfather now. It's going to take him some time to get used to us. So I want you both to mind him. You hear? If there's any trouble, I'll stand up for you.
The story plays out amongst the characters as a dramatic and human contest of wills that unfolds between a mother and the neighboring rancher she marries, played by Art Hindle, which culminates in the purchase of a renegade horse by the rancher as an attempt to foster a relationship between the boy and the man. The abused horse learns to trust the boy, and the boy learns to trust his new stepfather, In a situation where relationships that are forged out of necessity in the beginning slowly evolve into real affection for one another.
Boy in his dream.
As Christopher says, you are only 941 hits short.
Marilyn makes the seamless transition of a woman with her own determined dreams as she learns to navigate both the dreams of her new husband and her young son. A triangular bond develops between the three characters as they are forced to save the life of this renegade horse, and in the process build the foundation for a new life together.
Come on. Come. That's it. Hey, how about that? Let's leave him be. We'll try again in a little while.
Sarah, why don't you get some sleep, huh? Chris and me can handle it.
Marilyn was for a period of time in her career cast in earthy mother roles for which she seemed to have such a natural affinity.
Mr. Fletcher, that doesn't even account for the land improvements we've made. I can get $4. Advertising in the East.
Lady, I'll pay you $3 out of the goodness of my heart and because you're a woman.
That's very kind. But it's the value of my land we're discussing, not me.
I always have loved period clothes, whether they're costumes or my own personal kind of collection, because I've always collected bits and pieces. I've long had a great affection for the turn of the century era. It's clothes that I feel in a way that I was born to wear. I like the hairstyles, I like the high collars, I like the leg of mutton sleeves, the Gibson hairdos, the jewelry. And when you're working in costumes, once you put the garment on, especially one which requires different kinds of undergarments, like we're corseted, so you have to hold yourself in a certain way, which immediately gives you a feeling of the period and makes you someone other than who you really are. You don't have to work as hard in becoming someone else, because right away your stance is different, your carriage is different. It makes you behave differently. You can't walk or turn or do any of the things you normally would in what we consider modern life. There isn't that kind of freedom.
Growing up, I was an enormous fan of filmmakers like Terrence Malick, Stanley Kubrick, and David Lean, all of whom were apt at telling highly intimate stories against broad cinematic backgrounds. The combination of naturalism and theatricality fascinated me as a young filmmaker. I was consumed by shooting the wild pony in highly naturally lit circumstances, similar to what these filmmakers had achieved with cinematographers such as Nestor Almendros in Malick's Days of Heaven, John Alcott in Kubrick's Barry Lyndon, and Freddie Young in Lean's Dr. Zhivago. In some ways, this film was an early filmmaking experiment by me in how to evoke the nature of a vast, open, often rugged environment, and how to use this backdrop to create an immersive tableau against which to play out an intimate story about the foibles of the human condition.